what did the big tomato say to the little tomato who was lagging behind? He said, ketchup.
Huge Batman fan. Yeah, I have probably more Batman stuff in the house than I should. That's difficult because I think a lot of actors do either a really good Bruce Wayne, a really terrible Batman, or a really good Batman and a really terrible Bruce Wayne. I actually love Michael Keaton. I think in terms of particularly his Bruce, he's a really human Bruce Wayne, and I think we see the really human elements. He's not a super jacked, like, crazy ninja. He's just a rich dude with a cool suit who's trying his best. He's probably a little bit more fit than the average guy, but, I think that for me was really interesting.
All-time favourite movie? God, I can't pick one. You can't pick one. That's like picking your favourite children, and I only have one. I guess, like, up there, like, I've got to have a group of them, right? It's going to be cheating, but I'm going to have a group of them. Roger Rabbit is up there. Groundhog Day is also up there. These are movies I could watch over and over again and still find little things that fascinate me about it. I guess if I want to go for a weirdo recommendation, Storks. It's one of those, I think it's made by the guys who made Boss Baby, so it's like, it looks trashy, but please, I mean it, it's really good. It's really good. I watched it on a plane and it made me cry so much I had to hide in the toilets.
For a hyped up film that does live up to its name is the Back to the Future series, because I think that film is the best film series out there, and it really does live up to the hype. I'm going
to drop a bombshell on you. I haven't seen that. I've seen, I think, a bit of the first one and a bit of the second one. Okay. I know the third one's apparently not
The third one is the worst of the three, but it's still good.
It's still good.
Yeah. The only letdown is the ending of the third one. The ending of the third one, it's kind of really stupid, and it should have ended with spoilers. It should have ended with the Doc stuck in 1885, and then Marty goes back to 1985 to find his grave or something, and that he lived a long life after leaving him there in the past.
It probably is Star Wars Episode 5, if I'm honest. It probably is.
You just said you changed it.
I thought I did, but I was going to say Revenge of the Sith, but it probably is.
Well,
it probably
because
is.
mine's also Episode 5.
Oh dear.
Saves a lot of effort off the bickering.
So we've got the same film as our best film.
Yes, which means we have it's basically a test of trivia now, isn't it?
I haven't seen it. I don't think I've seen it for about 3 years. So, shot number 46. What's that? It was probably a probe droid, right? Right at the beginning. Right?
No, because that'll be just after... No, because they didn't launch the probe droids until after the Star Destroyer got into shot.
Yeah, that was like the Star Destroyer. And then it shot off the probe... Was there any 20?
No, it was the Star Destroyer. Then it was basically very the same we did to search for the rebel bases. Then it shot off the probe droids.
It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas film, for one thing, and I am an absolute Christmas fanatic. But it's also a tale of redemption, a tale of humanity, and I think all of the actors in it are absolutely fantastic, but Jimmy Stewart in particular just encapsulates what it is to be this authentic, engaging actor, and he creates this character who isn't always likeable, but is very lovable, and who is very relatable, and I think he does that so beautifully. I can't count how many times I've watched it. I watch it at least once every Christmas. And then I watch a lot of black and white films, a lot of older films as well. So Bette Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is another one that is always going to stay with me. I mean, there's so many. My brain is constantly rattling around with amazing performances I've watched that I want to steal from or rewatch or, am inspired by. And I feel like it changes all the time.
I like to watch movies that make me feel happy. I don't like horrors. I don't like dramas. I don't like necessarily a lot of very moody, thinky pieces. I do sometimes, but more often when I want to sit down and watch a movie, I want to watch something that is fun. And so that tends to be in the comedy animation field of things.
I do like the Guy Ritchie films, Lock, Stock, Snatch, The Gentleman, which I know a lot of people weren't a fan of.
We saw that in cinema, didn't we?
We did. I saw it twice actually in cinema, but it's one of his best. You compare it to these old gangster films he did before, which were his first two films in I think 98 and 2000. It's pretty much those, but it's on a much bigger budget.
Yeah,
like insane budget, and he's also, you could tell he's had a 20 years of filming experience.
Well, first of all, the good guy doesn't win immediately.
Yeah. I see what you say.
And also it has really good practical effects for a film made in the 70s, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
think still hold up.
I think they all, like if you watch the
Yeah.
prequel films now, I think a lot of it kind of holds up, but there's a lot of uncanny valley.
The Industrial Light is great when it comes to sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And also the story's good. I think it develops most of the characters in it.
Yeah. Well, it's just a story of they lose.
Yeah, but it's a good way to develop a character.
Yeah, just break them down.
Yeah.
Some trilogies you can kind of get away with, like, I watched the first one, missed the middle one, and I watched the last one. And I think, like, the Harry Potter, the new, like, the Fantastic Beasts,
Yeah.
I reckon you could probably get away with not watching the second one. I don't know, Aliens, I guess? Like, they're all kind of their own thing. I think, yeah, if you don't watch Empire Strikes Back, you're going to have no idea.
It's also the first
Right.
point of Luke using his Jedi powers, actually.
Yeah.
Like, properly, not just, like, use the Force, Luke.
I think I'm still processing the new Batman film. I think they nailed Gotham. I think Gotham looks fantastic. It's exactly, in my mind, what Gotham looks like. I think it reflects the comics really well. It reminds me of the Tim Burton Batmans, which I really like. And the first Christopher Nolan Batman, I think, had an element of that there as well. And I think that's so important. You've got to get that setting exactly right, because it sets the scene for everything that happens in this crazy toxic culture that they've got going on, that Batman exists in. I thought Pattinson's Batman was fantastic. I wasn't convinced about his Bruce, but what I'm trying to kind of do is see it in the wider form of, if they go on and make more Batman films, then this is probably a very young Batman. This is a Batman who hasn't, his Bruce hasn't developed yet, hasn't grown into itself. But whenever I saw him, and this is a real, sort of shows my age a bit, reminds me of being an emo back when I was a teenager. There were elements of it I really liked, but I mean, I loved Zoe Kravitz was a fantastic Catwoman. I don't think she was given enough to do. I don't think she was given enough fun lines, because Catwoman is a really witty, fun character. She's a fantastic actor, and I think she could have been given more to do there.
Another film I quite like is Kill Bill. I think that's actually a really good film. That is.
I agree with you, Kill Bill. I think the first one. I know they're both the same.
Yeah.
They're both the continuation of a film, but I think that first one, by itself, is brilliant. I think that's generally an awesome film.
Yeah.
Second one, it's a bit slower, but it's more of a story, and I like that as well.
Have you seen that there was a DVD release
Of all together.
of both of them together? It's like a 4.5 hour film.
I would like to watch that.
Yeah, it would be good.
I'd probably lose my mind, but I would like to watch that.
A lot of the time there's like no dialogue, it's all just visual, but it works really well.
Well, it's his style. Again, it's early Tarantino.
Yeah.
And his early films are brilliant.
It's just good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I watched it when I was a kid. My dad introduced me to it. So I think, I don't know, it's got a lot of that.
What was your dad's words of recommendation?
It's
Watch.
Star Wars. Yeah. You like this? You got the VHS from a car boot sale. Stuck it in the old VHS player. I could only watch the first half of it because the tape didn't work for the rest of it. So I had to buy another tape. The second tape that I bought, the last 10 minutes didn't work. Well, that was just the credits.
How long did you actually take for you to watch episode 5?
It took me about a good 4 years. From purchase to finish.
Going to the cinema is a bit of a mixed experience for me. It's difficult to get to the cinema anyway, but then on top of that, sometimes you're stuck with people who like talk or fight. Like I once, whilst I was watching Sonic the Hedgehog, a fight broke out, and it was during the scene in the movie where there's a bar fight. So it felt like a very 4D experience for me.
I love the cinema. I've grown up loving the cinema, and it's part and parcel of what I do. And it's that I love storytelling and I love the experience of the cinema. I think we've slightly lost sight of cinema etiquette. And I don't know if it's maybe because we've spent 2 years at home effectively, so people are really used to being in their own spaces when they're in the cinema. But since the pandemic has, quieted down a little bit and people have returned to the cinema, I've noticed that there's a lot more talking and people being on their phones, texting people the whole way through, or rustling, or just getting. And I mean, I'm very old-fashioned, I think, in that sense, but I expect people to dress up a little bit for the cinema. I expect there to be this sense of this is an event. My parents, when I was younger, my parents weren't particularly wealthy, and so going to the cinema was a real treat. It was such an event, it was such an experience, and you dressed up in your cool clothes, and you went and you sat quietly and watched the film. And I think, I don't want cinemas to die out, but I think the only way we can really make cinemas stick around for as long as possible is to get rid of this kind of crazy blockbuster thing we've got going on and give smaller films an opportunity to be screened at these cinemas for less money. I think we're pricing indie films out of cinemas, and I think that's terrible. And I think we have to kind of try and get it back on track so that it's more of a experience, more of an event. I think the Everyman and the Curzon and small cinemas like that do it really well. But then what you lose when you go to those smaller cinemas is the quality of the screen, the quality of the sound. And I know for a lot of people that's more important. For me, the atmosphere is more important, but it's a balance, isn't it?
Solo was just like a film that didn't need to exist. There was no need for it. And there was unnecessary explanations behind everything. We don't need to know why Solo is called Solo. That's
and
his
not
name.
because of the reason. What's your
own.
family's name? I have no family. Solo, is it then?
Oh, that was the worst bit. And it happens in the first half an hour.
I've watched it 3 times. I can't remember what happens.
What? You've seen it 3 times?
Yeah.
Oh my word.
I can't remember what happens.
I'm nearly 40, so it's very hard for me to have an out-and-out worst movie. To passionately care about a movie enough to hate it. There's a few really crap ones I've seen. I think in terms of just overwhelmingly bad, it's got to be the 41-year-old virgin who knocked up Sarah Marshall and felt super bad about it. The title alone doesn't invite it to be in a high quality film, but spoiler alert, it was not. It's really painfully bad. And incredibly toxic in a number of ways. It's just bad. It's a film that should not exist. I think the planet would be better off if this film didn't exist.
On a side note, the sounds in the prequels, the sound effects are excellent.
Oh, they're great.
But I don't remember the original or the sequel trilogy having great sounds, particularly.
Well, the original,
Maybe the
because it's
original.
old, but the sequel trilogy has enough sounds. It really shouldn't.
Yeah. The
Prequel is
pod
good.
racing scene is so good. And the scene in episode 2 where they're flying the cars. That's good. Boop, 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 boop. Any sort like that.
We can't continue without mentioning one of the best films ever made, Batman 1966.
I agree.
It's it's so
I
good.
think-
It's based on the TV show, of
But
course.
it is based on the TV show. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think
it's
in terms of a
so
follow-on
good.
from the TV show, I think it's brilliant. 'Cause it's that, but an hour and a half of it.
Yeah.
And it's I know, you make a film of the TV. It's kind of a lot of the times it's pretty bad
Yeah.
or not as good. But this is one of the ones I think they stand hand in hand. They're both good.
It's silly. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, because obviously that was what the TV show was. But it's if you compare that to what we have now with the new Batman film, it's it's completely different character.
It's a lot different. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's gone a lot more darker. When what's his name?
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. Obviously, his one, because I remember when he did it, it was very dark.
Yeah.
Which I do agree fits him better, but then I think you still can also have this campy version of him. Alan West plays it brilliantly.
my favourite scene in that film is when they're just hanging out in a submarine. Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, and the Penguin,
yeah.
just all hanging out together on a submarine,
playing cards.
just sitting around.
The thing is, though, you said that there's a lot of that in that film.
They just hang out and
There's a
sit there,
lot-
just mates.
Yeah. But I believe you said that's the best part. You're missing out the best line. Bat shark repellent spray.
That shark repellent spray is very good.
It's just, yeah, it's a brilliant film.